Alright, let's check out John Doyle's newest video. John Doyle has a brand new video entitled, Should You Still Join the Military? I assume this is going to be about how the right is complaining that they think the military is woke now or whatever. It's not. It's still the military. Their PR department is just trying to appeal to Gen Z to fight the next war. Whee! Anyway, let's see what John has to say about it.
Understand that if active duty military actually get deployed within the United States, that weapon is not just pointed at other people, other countries. It's pointed at you.
Oh, that's funny. John's gonna take this video out of context. I've seen the whole video. Fun fact, this video was in response to some QAnon lady, or QAnon adjacent lady, who made a TikTok who said basically, military, where are you? Come in, military, take over the country and declare martial law because I don't like wearing a mask and I want President Trump to be president, not Joe Biden. So this woman, who's in the military, basically made a response TikTok to be like, are you stupid? That's not how things work. If you declare martial law, it's not just going to affect the libs that you want to own. It's going to affect everyone, etc., etc. It's a good video.
If you do not get in your house when I tell you to, you become the enemy. Martial law.
John's very honest and definitely didn't use that clip to make it seem like she was trying to threaten people as opposed to just point out to that QAnon person that martial law is bad.
Oh, commie.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Heck Off Commie. What you just saw there was a video of a female member of our military sharing with total...
Hello. Profane Priestess says Laura is autistic. Trains are one of the things she hyperfixates on a lot. That's how she explained it anyway. It was a big thing for her. Oh, that's cool. Bardlock says incoming chicken hawks. Simple Cat Girl says, damn it, the transition to a cute wedding to John hurts, Hannah. I know.
Total impunity. Her bloodlust fantasies about gunning down American citizens. And you can...
Good. I tried to put these up, but the thing doesn't stick to them. So I gotta find something else.
Dress it up any way you want to, but that's what that was. Like, that's why she posted it. She didn't want to explain martial law. She wasn't trying to give people a heads up or something. No, she was getting off on public displays of her self-perceived power over people.
John! She was literally responding to another woman who was like, military, come in and make Trump president and stop mask mandates. She was literally showing that person and explaining to them why they're wrong. I hate John.
People like you. So we're going to analyze this for a little bit before diving into what we really have to talk about, which is whether it's still a good idea to join the military. Because you look at this woman, and she truly has the phenotype of the overbearing, scorned, androgynously feminine, power-thirsty woman. You can see it in her face.
I think that's probably close enough to report worthy. What do you guys think?
So we're going to analyze this for a little bit before
he said this woman has the phenotype of a
diving into what we really have to talk about, which is whether it's still a good idea to join the military. Because you look at this woman and
wow. My typing is all sorts of fuck today. Even spell check won't do it. It's not going to do anything, but still, fuck John.
she truly has the phenotype of the overbearing, scorned, androgynously feminine, power-thirsty woman. You can see it in her face, you hear it in her voice, and our military is increasingly being filled with...
Oh, speaking of which, here's the video if you want to link to any of it for any reason. Jamie Lynn says the National Guard knows a bit about the law and crowd control. The military has two jobs, to kill people and to take land, and that's it. If they're in the United States, that's what they will do. That's what they were trained to do. Darker White says, knowing John, this will probably be needed.
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it! Get on with it!
with people like that and increasingly purged of normal American patriots, and that could potentially lead to
American patriots are ultra right-wingers who hate Joe Biden so much they're willing to depose a sitting president. That's what a real American is, according to John. Rageology says, damn, I forgot to mention that I am formerly Ilium Gal. Twitch app screwed up for a username change, and I had to create a whole other account or be called something vaguely rude for the next 6 months. All right.
Catastrophe for obvious reasons, because as our libertarian friends will remind us, the state has a total monopoly on violence, which is true. So what's going to happen when the state, which is already hostile quite openly towards people like us, what's going to happen when
Fascists? I'd hope so.
the enforcement of that state, the military, is predominantly occupied by people who are equally, if not even more hostile towards people like us? What's that going to look like?
That's funny. You ever imagine a future where Republicans think the military is too left-wing for them? Fun stuff. What, did she pee in a box?
No.
Oh.
I'll tell you this, and we all know it's true. I've never met someone who looked like that who was not mentally and spiritually ill. People
Literally, again, just being like, I think this lady's ugly, therefore, John, I don't know how to break it to you. You're not God's gift to women. Do I need to say that? Okay. Nick says, John, you want the state to enforce anti-LGBTQ laws, you redacted. Speedy Yoshi says, speaking of libertarians. Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a libertarian. Well, son, which is it? You can't do both.
like that woman are basically amoral. They've been traumatized.
What does spiritually ill mean? It's just a newer way to say degenerate. It's just like fashy Nazi talking points.
They have a lot of hatred within themselves towards the people they perceive to be evil, namely white men, because of daddy issues, poor...
No, she was literally talking to a QAnon lady. You're really gonna pretend you didn't see the whole video, John? In order to see this TikTok, you would have had to see the beginning of the TikTok. That's how TikToks work, John. She's not even talking to a man. She's talking to a woman.
Or experiences with boyfriends, etc. And that's even before we take into account that these people have been...
Profane Priestess says, reminder that the only real libertarians are leftists. If you really value freedom and minimizing hierarchy, you must oppose capitalism.
Spoon-fed, state-sponsored propaganda against America, against American patriots, etc. for virtually their entire lives. And people like her are...
American patriots, like the kind of people on January 6th who tried to kill Congress people. Woo! USA. USA. Go fuck yourself, John.
Literally just waiting for the green light. You can see it in her face. She knows that martial law would never be declared to serve the interests of American patriots. She knows that if it were declared, it would be to target America.
Isn't it fun how they've completely destroyed the word patriotism and patriot over the last, it's never been great. Honestly, since post 9/11, it hasn't been great. And through the entirety of American history, it's had kind of a sketchy thing considering the moral compass of America as a whole. But, especially in the past 6 years, now patriot, basically, if it's self-ascribed, just means I want to kill politicians I don't like and liberals. Weird. Hydrate.
American patriots. It would be at the expense of American patriots, and that's what she's fantasizing about. There's nothing more dangerous.
American patriots like John Doyle who hang out with neo-Nazis like Nick Fuentes. American patriots.
Than bitter feminine energy in a position of power. There's nothing more dangerous than that because it is entirely driven and governed by emotional processes that are...
As opposed to John, who isn't an emotional man-child at all, because he couches his rhetoric in, ah, yes, I am quite logical and calm, even though his entire worldview is based upon frustration and anger that he can't masturbate without feeling guilty.
Are unstable and impulsive. And if she's convinced that you're the reason that she's miserable, she'll just be looking for permission to kill you. And I know we're probably thinking right now, good luck, come and take it. I get that. I'm not...
I don't like John Doyle.
Yeah, me either.
Saying that she's actually a threat or...
Like you.
I like you too. Rageology says, is Is he going the phrenology thing, or am I reading too much into it? Yeah, physiognomy, which is basically like phrenology, but in an even stupider way, where you just look at someone and go, I think you're ugly, therefore I think you're automatically wrong. It's ad hominem taken to a... It's like taking an ad hominem argument and fusing it with Nazism. Fun.
Competence or anything like that. I'm just saying what worries me is how many of these types of people you're not seeing, how they can act with impunity, how the rhetoric of the state and its military are approaching where they would need to be for something really bad to happen to people like us. That's the point of this. Am I scared of some bitch in fatigues? No. But what does scare me is an army of mentally ill people.
That's actually funny, John, considering I'm pretty sure she could probably beat the shit out of you and she wouldn't need a gun to do it. She has actual military training, and you're a keyboard warrior, so good luck with that. Nick says, I love seeing you and Baja loving each other during a John Doyle segment. That'd make him apoplectic.
People, because there's no way to reason with them. They need to believe what daddy government says about people like us. They need to project their...
John, I don't need the government to tell me you're a piece of shit. I've heard you talk.
Their own misery onto people like us. These people are the victims of a society that has been purposefully engineered to breed despair and anxiety as a means to orchestrate mass submission to the established power structures by the masses who require those power structures because they believe them to be necessary to their...
Moppy Muttons, I don't even use the R word like that by saying R word. You're still using it if you say R word like that. Come on, really?
Survival
Not cool.
And any chance of relative stability. And
it's okay to say R word if you're commenting on someone else saying the R word, but if you're just using it in the same way someone would use it if they were saying the R word, then you're just using the R word.
ones who are particularly miserable and brainwashed would not for a second hesitate to open fire on people like us. Not for a second. And I doubt there would be any consequences either, because the higher-ups share the same contempt, but they can't be seen pulling the trigger. The same way that Antifa and Black Lives Matter assault and murder American patriots and nothing is done about it. No arrests are made, no federal police involvement, the mainstream media runs defense.
There was literally just an article about how people actually during the George Floyd protests getting treated worse by the police than the January 6th, whatever you want to call them. January 6th pieces of shit. That's a good nonpartisan way of describing them.
For them. The Democrats in Congress run defense for them. Well, they're not actually a group, they're just an idea. Why is that? Because they're glad it's happening, but they can't be the...
It's literally true, though. Also, like, you should even agree with that, John, because it's just the truth. Even if you don't like Antifa because you're a pho. It's still not like an organized group with chapters. It's just any person who doesn't like fascists and who go out and do something about it. There's no centralized structure to attack. Like, what are you even doing?
The ones to do it. So the last thing I want to...
Sybil Catgirl says, the whole segment made my eyes roll back. He managed to say so many dog whistles and buzzwords in seconds.
Before I start telling you what I've learned about the military since speaking with a bunch of you guys who are currently in, who have served before over the last few weeks, is that the reason I say this is because a lot of us are probably thinking, well, these people are in the minority, the military is still our guys, they're not going to turn against us.
Pretty sure the military is still, at this point, majority Republican.
And I get that.
The makeup of the military tends to be, just statistically speaking, from lower income groups, because military recruiting preys a lot upon people who don't really have opportunities for their future. They can't afford college and stuff like that, and they don't have any job prospects. So they'll go and they'll be like, oh, come to the military and we'll get you college, or we'll get you job training, or whatever. Just sell us this many years of your life. And they ruin countless lives and all that fun stuff. Yay, military. Colston says the military is actually mostly Democratic. Is that true? That's surprising to me. Because the majority still voted for Trump of those that voted. Not as many as you would think, but it was a majority in 2020. Nick says it's very hierarchical and so much going to bat for authority, something conservatives used to love until recently. No, I'm caught up.
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I am simply sharing my observations, but I realized something pretty chilling recently, which is that you hear all this rhetoric from the left about America, our democracy, us. And I've always thought, like, who's this us you're talking about? Like, what?
People who aren't fascists? People who are willing to work with other people and live peacefully in a society, recognizing that other people are different than them, as long as they're not hurting other people. Fascists don't count because they hurt other people, because they hate people who aren't like them and want to disenfranchise them or physically hurt them or disallow them to live their lives, like making gay stuff illegal. You get it. Basically, everyone who isn't a piece of shit, John.
But I kind of just brush it off as like PR strategy. Like, you know how
Colston says you're mixing up police with military. The military voted in favor of Biden. I don't believe that's true. I think I looked it up on stream a while back. It was a higher percentage than you would think, but most still went for Trump.
candidates always say,
I hope I'm wrong, but if you're gonna say that, then shoot me a link so I can check it out.
when I win instead of if I win. Like, the rhetoric is self-affirming. But then I realized that it's actually 100% true if you hear it as predicated on all political dissent completely gone, whether that's silenced, censored, or in those places that they've sent people like us every other time they've taken power.
John, you just don't get to be a fascist. I mean, the funny thing is you even do get to be that, but you can't assume other people want to play nice with you when you're a fucking fascist. People hate fascism. They just do. So stop.
I really can't stress that enough. If it's happened every other time, why would it not happen this time? They're purging the military of patriots, of people who are against the regime, the same way that...
AKA QAnon conspiracy theorists and people who might want to kill the president aren't allowed in the military. The horror. Bitter old ass broad says, "Hey Hannah, sup chat. Don't know if anyone mentioned, but Trumpers tried to get that soldier fired. She had to take down that specific clip off her TikTok to remain in compliance with her superiors." That doesn't surprise me. I assumed that was going to happen anyway. It was still a badass clip, but and it's still floating around the internet. Nothing on the internet really disappears. But you're really not supposed to talk about shit like that while in uniform, especially when you're still enlisted. But still, that was awesome of her. Fuck yeah.
that they've done throughout history. You want the military to be loyal to your regime and destroy those who aren't? Okay, purge it. They know what they're doing. Have you soiled yourself yet? Do you need new underwear? I'm actually excited for
No, I don't take horse medicine, so I'm actually okay.
this product mode because we actually have a new product today, and we're excited about it because, as you know, the Heck Off Commie sponsor roster is an elite list with like 2 criteria. It has to be a good product that I actually like, and I get to say whatever I want. This is why you don't see me promoting things like supplements and weird services, things that don't even have anything to do with what we talk about, and also why sometimes we lose a sponsor when we call out anti-white propaganda and they say, "Hey, good video, but can you change that comment you made about the future congressional white caucus?" No, actually. And I didn't even think it was that funny, but at this point, it's on principle that I keep it in. So today, I am here to tell you that men are being inundated with overpriced boxers designed for testosterone-deficient men, one brand even going so far as to turn the waistband into a rainbow, which I remind you at risk of redundancy is literally gay. Here at...
Did he just say your underwear are gonna make you gay? John, if having rainbow underpants is the only thing it took to make you gay, you were gay.
Heck Off Commie.
Profane Priestess says, obedience and ideological purity is kind of the point of military training, John. That's kind of why it's bad.
We demand more room.
Moppy Mutton says, Heck Off Commie, brought to you by ivermectin apple flavor.
More room and support where it counts, but that's not all. I want a quick release fly for a quick draw, and this...
Normally I'd, quick draw. That's cute. Like John gets to use his penis. Oh shoot. I lost my train of thought. I normally would skip the ad, but this is too good.
Design is actually really good, and I'll try to explain why without being too graphic, but you know how when you really have to pee, it's difficult to take it out because the joint isn't supposed to be like a socket joint. It's not really designed to go like left and right. It's more of an up and down kind of thing. So you have to like bend over and get it out because the fly...
Is John constantly erect? What? Actually, you know what? John doesn't masturbate. So maybe he is just constantly erect. So he can't, like... John, you're not supposed to be hard all the time. I don't know if you know this. Nick says he wants a quick draw. Must not make the obvious joke.
fly is vertical. This one's horizontal. So that ceases to be a problem because they took into account the physics of your pee-pee. So that's nice. But there's also a secret pocket in the extra wide waistband for cash, tactical accessories. More importantly,
Please don't put your cash in your underwear. Cashiers do not want to deal with your underwear, sweaty cash. This goes the same for boob money. If anyone keeps money in your bra, you better have it wrapped in something, because no one wants your tit sweat money either.
because it's funny to me, because women always complain about how they don't have enough pockets in their pants.
Darker White with 30 bits. I hate Family Guy.
But the boys are so advanced that we're adding pockets to our underwear. But seriously, you never know. You know, no one's going to search you there. So if you're ever in a situation where you need a universal handcuff key, a small knife, etc., you'll be good to go. And also, I want the material to be antibacterial, anti-pilling, and moisture wicking, so I stay fresh and dry all day. They have to be durable, fade resistant, shrink resistant, ultra lightweight, and finally, because I'm high maintenance, I want them to be battle tested by special forces and 30% less expensive than the competition. And no woke BS, please, because as we know, it is imperative that we keep everything gay away from that area of our bodies especially. There's only one
Slaughterama says, fellas, are you so pent up with testosterone that you're at full mast every single moment like I am? Well, don't see a doctor, buy these conservative undies.
one brand that can say all of that, Undertac. The only brand that is unapologetically pro-America.
Look at the logo!
And pro-Second Amendment, and we are happy to add them to the elite list of heck-off commie sponsors. So go to getundertac.com, that's getundertac.com right now, as a special introductory offer, buy 3, get 1 free with the offer code Doyle, that is for...
Dr. White says, Hannah, John lacks enough brevity as it is. Why are you making us suffer through this shilling, too? It's too good. I can't waste this material, guys. Chrysia says, they literally will search your underwear, dude. And Profane Priestess says, John, are you in the... No, come on. I just talked about this, guys. Calling homophobic dudes gay just puts the onus of homophobia onto gay people. No, John is not gay. He's just a shitty person. Stop it. Moppy Mutton says, we got skulls on our stuff. Are we the baddies?
4 pairs for the same price as 2 from the competition. Math. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Getundertac.com. Offer code Doyle. Very epic. So,
I think John's old enough to drink. He just turned 21 last year, this year, or something. I don't remember.
question at hand, should you still join the military? I say still because I presume that we've all explored that possibility at some point or another, especially because, you know, we love our country, most of us are guys, and the idea of being in the military is basically about as appealing as it can get. Like, you're a warrior, you're defending your country with the boys, it's epic.
Yeah, look at all that country defending we did in Afghanistan over the last 20 years. That was worth it.
It's exciting. That's the idea of it. But unfortunately, it's not that simple anymore. Maybe it never was, but especially not in recent history, the last 12 years or so in particular. So you might remember a few videos ago, I made a comment, which admittedly was impulsive, that you should not join the military. And after that, a bunch of people reached out to me to talk to me about it, let me know what their experiences with it have been. So I'd like to retract that now, the rare John Doyle retraction, to tell you that I've decided to be very comfortable perched on the fence. Because I don't know. I don't know. It depends on your own personal value hierarchy. But the first thing I want to say is that if you want to join the military, mostly because you want to serve your country and be a hero to your country, and there are lots of reasons that people join, but that's probably the most common and honorable, I think. I will say that political heroes are just as real as military heroes. They're often the same. In terms of like cumulative service to the country, I would say at this point, somebody who can break into the system and positively change it in any capacity is a hero. It's a completely different battle, but a battle nonetheless, and frankly, one that's more important to the country than fighting in the sand. So if you want to serve your country, you're smart, you're capable, I would say we need people like you involved in politics more than the military at this point, to be honest. And there's pros and cons to each. Like, the average soldier is more heroic and more of a service.
Cosmic Cat says, bet John would never join the military. No, his family's relatively well off. He wouldn't join the military. He's a chicken hawk. Chrysia says, that is absolutely not the most common reason for military service. No, it's people who need money and the potential to go to college after their enlistment is over. Nick says, we don't need you to kill brown people. We need you to make other people's kids kill brown people.
to his country than the average political figure by far. But that being said, we really need that handful of figures to rise up in politics and take this country back and be in charge of that military and use it for good for the national defense and sovereignty instead of guarding poppy fields in Afghanistan. And that's the problem. Like, if we wanted to take over these countries, we could. If we wanted to glass them, we could, but we don't. We want a nation build because as we
Is he implying that we should do those things? Because it kind of sounds like he wants to genocide entire areas of the planet because he doesn't like the people who live there. Gee, why do I call John Doyle fascist so often? I wonder why. It's a mystery. Slaughterama says, sung in the style of Rise Against, Hero of War. I don't know that song. A hero of war, yeah, that's what I'll be. Got conservative briefs, so heck off, commie.
We talked about in the last video, the ruling class in this country wants international enforced liberalism. So I guess the first thing to know about is what's referred to as the big green weenie, which is that everybody, no matter what, is going to get screwed over by the military in some capacity. It is inescapable. I heard a story about a guy who wanted to be military police. They said, okay, sign here. He says, okay. They say, actually, no, you're infantry, but we're keeping you for those extra 3 years you signed on for to be military police, even though you're infantry now. And he's just screwed. So just know that you can...
Yep, military's shitty. That's why I don't think you should join it.
Not avoid.
Nick says it's Harold Penisman.
The big green weenie. It is inevitable. That's just one story I heard, but it can be all sorts of different things. The bottom line being that you are going to get screwed at some point. The second thing to know is that the fact that the wars that we're involved in aren't really important or for good cause or about defending American freedom, that really doesn't even matter, which is actually a good thing.
It does matter, actually. It matters a lot. It matters a whole lot, John. In fact, I'd say that's like the most pressing elephant in the room in regard to America's foreign policy and our military in general, is the fact that what the fuck are we doing with it other than bothering other people or getting involved selectively in conflicts that we shouldn't be involved in? Profane Priestess says, in the words of one of my favorite bands, nothing like a rich man's war to spill a poor man's blood. Rachiology says, I can see him joining the military in the Fash takeover. I can absolutely see him as an ideology officer to keep the ranks in line, patting them on the back as they go out to fight, whilst he retires to the officer's mess to have another cigar and a whiskey. That's how John sees himself. Unfortunately, or unfortunately, I guess I don't know. It depends on who you ask. He's not. I think John fancies himself this, like, genius political strategist, and in his head, when, like, if the day of the rope happened, I wonder how... Do you think John Doyle owns a copy of the Turner Diaries? Like, I think 100% he does, but just curious. Does anyone... You think he has a copy of the Turner Diaries? Anyway, I think he thinks if the day of the rope happened, he would wind up at the top of the hierarchy as some sort of propaganda minister or strategist or something. I think he fancies himself a Goebbels type. And he's just not.
Because the reason it doesn't matter is because 90% of the enlisted guys just want to fight. They don't care who, they just want to fight. If the higher-ups declared war...
If 90% of enlisted people want to fight, they're going to be super disappointed since the vast majority of people in the military are in non-combat roles. Most people in the military do not see combat. The most people in the military are in support roles. They cook the food, they maintain the machinery and the equipment. They work the base or whatever. They work domestically on recruiting or maintaining offices and infrastructure here for the military in case they need to be deployed. Most military members do not see combat. Tucker White says, I never understood why we use the term chicken hawk. Actual chicken hawks are very aggressive birds. It's more chicken space hawk than like the actual bird chicken hawk. Because they're a chicken because they don't actually want to go, but they're a hawk in that they want to promote war. I'd say chicken hawk with a hyphen in between. Moppy Mutton says, other than Russia, we have invaded and bombed more countries than any other nation since World War II. Just saying. Yeah. We're the bad guys. I don't know if you need to hear that. We're the bad guys. We're one of the bad guys. Us being the bad guys doesn't make the Taliban the good guys. We're just not good guys for getting involved selectively with that, but not, let's say, Saudi Arabia, you know?
War on France, they'd be spray painting equipment getting ready for the Battle of Bordeaux, right? That's actually kind of a good thing because you really just want that warrior spirit in your military, following orders, no questions asked, that kind of mentality. But our
Yeah, that worked out for Germany.
problem is that the orders are coming from people who work for Satan, so it gets a bit sticky there. But yeah, these guys have told me that they've never even met one person who gives a damn about nation building. So in the enlisted class, about 2/3 of these guys are joining because they love their country, because of their heritage. A lot of these guys come from military families, and that's something that isn't really discussed too often, but there is something to be said about the epigenetics of the soldier.
I don't know if Baja's listening, but somewhere her spine just tingled that John Doyle used the word epigenetics. She hates when people use epigenetics incorrectly.
Like how even knights were the sons of knights, etc. Like the people who come...
Oh, no.
I wasn't listening, but you said it, so.
He said a lot of the people in the military come from military families, so there's something to be said here about the epigenetics involved.
John, you dumb motherfucker. On top of genetics. That's what epigenetics means. It means on top of genetics. It's something that happens from your environment and the experiences you have in your life. Genes get turned off because of epigenetic marks on. There can be DNA methylation, there can be histone methylation.
But what if the genes
Fucking
turn on that make...
Stop.
Your dad was in the military, so the genes get turned on that go, ooh yeah, I'm gonna go kill brown people in the Middle East. Those genes get turned on.
I fucking hate John Doyle.
Yeah, I think most everyone does too. So. Overthought says, actually, John, I work for a demon who then reports to Pazuzu, who then reports to Satan. I love you.
I love you too. I'm gonna go back to petting our cute cats and ignoring John Doyle's presence.
Alright, that's what most of us do.
Yep.
So. Nick says, I thought John Doyle has had some I think John Doyle has had some crystal methylization. Or methylation. Funny.
Come from military families literally are built different. They want to fight. It is ingrained in them. And the good news is that 80 to 90% of these guys are instinctively or just straight up right wing, like they're fantasizing about being deployed against Antifa, stuff like that. But that being said,
yeah, that's not good. Those people aren't fit to be in the military, and they should be kicked out.
they're not very...
By the way, I'd say the exact same thing about someone who's in the military who fantasizes about being, like, deployed against, I don't know, right-wing militias. No one in the military should be having fantasies, power fantasies about killing other American citizens. Now, if there were situations where the military had to be called in against other American citizens because they were acting actually, like, as terrorists or something, that's a different story. That's the job. But you should not be sitting there and having power fantasies about murdering people ever, you fucking sicko. Bittergrin says, see, I just work for Cthulhu. Satan is nowhere in my supervisory chain. Eccleston said, didn't he just bitch about the military lady wanting to kill American citizens? Yeah, he did.
Socially...
He just thinks she doesn't fantasizing about killing the right people. Or should I say, the left people.
conservative. It's kind of that, you know, like conservatarian warrior class, which is to be expected. I don't have an issue with that. You wouldn't call a Viking a degenerate for getting really drunk and having sex with a bunch of women after conquering a village because he's a Viking. And
I don't even know what to say about that, John. Just the headspace you're in is so weird. Slaughterama says, John, my family is full of Navy and Marines, all of them left-wing to one degree or another, and my father went from fighting in Vietnam to fucking protesting. You're a disgrace.
and he would collapse your skull. So, hey, no judgment from this guy. Judgment-free zone, Planet Fitness mode. Good work, soldier. But the officer culture is much different. These guys are going to college. They're getting indoctrinated. They're not like far left radicals, but they're pretty...
Yeah, a military with uneducated higher-ups is definitely a good idea, John. I'm sure where you're going with this is going to make total sense. Let's have dumbass generals who've never been to college. That'll end well.
Liberal, like they'll complain about the South being too racist, and it's like, bro, we're at Fort Bragg. This is not even the South yet. And a lot of the officer types know that they can use that to transition into business or politics or something like that.
Moppy Button says, like Bass killed them all, then what are you talking about? Like Bass kill them all, then F the ladies. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because it looks good on their
Are you referencing Bass FCZ? I mean, yeah, he's gross.
resume. And if you look at those types of people who advertise their military,
Where did he say Fort Bragg? I don't even know where that is. Hold on. Oh, in North Carolina. Gotcha. Is this one of the ones that had like a Confederate flag or something? Is he bitching about it because of that? I genuinely don't know.
background, very rarely were they enlisted. They're almost always officers. And it's also worth noting, too, that the Navy and the Air Force at this point are effectively...
Oh, it's named after a Confederate. That makes sense. Sorry, I don't memorize the names of traitors, so that's my bad.
Jobs training programs. But really the best part of the military, I've been told, is the fraternity, the relationships that you form with the other guys, the experiences that you share. It's something you'll never forget and that you'll cherish, even though it sucks for the most part. And that's the operative goal of the regime. They want to discourage people who care about this country from joining or staying in the military. And so they're trying to clamp down on the ability of men to have that fraternal experience. They've brought women in, so it's no longer an all-male sphere, which is really important for facilitating male cooperation in relationships, since we get
If you're a man who thinks you can't work, if there isn't only other men around you, you aren't a man, you are a fucking child. Grow up and learn to be an adult. This isn't a clubhouse in your backyard with a no girls allowed sign. Learn to deal with people of the different gender than yourself. It's not fucking difficult. I know, John, you and your friends are incredibly insecure, and that affects you when women are around. It makes you insecure, and it makes you not be able to perform your tasks or whatever well, because you're constantly thinking about the woman around you, and like, oh my god, what is she gonna think about? You need to get out of that mentality. That shit most people get over by the time college comes around. You're 21, John. You're too old to be having this kind of thought process about women. 74 Quinn 74 says, especially after hearing John's list of activities, to do with your bros or whatever, I think he fits very heavily into that thing you said earlier of straight with no homo feels for friends or whatever. Mr. Sir Knight Kingo says, does John not understand that most of the military is multiracial and is made up of a variety of ethnicities from various countries? Does he also not understand that the military is not a right-wing organization? He's John Doyle. He doesn't know anything. He's just a well-spoken person, and some people might laugh at that. But no, John Doyle puts his arguments together coherently, and he certainly speaks to his audience a way that resonates with them, even though we laugh at it. So yes, John Doyle is well-spoken. He's just an idiot. I know this. I'm another well-spoken idiot. We can smell our own. Slaughterama says, you'll also never forget the smell of burning flesh and the sound of screaming, John.
Distracted by women. And also, there are just certain things that men did that women did not like, and now they aren't done anymore. One example I heard about was your blood wings. When you would graduate from airborne school in the United States military, they would take the badge and they stick the pin into your skin and they just drive it into your chest.
That's awful, and they shouldn't do that. Hot take.
And I've heard that you'll probably have that scar for most of your life, but it's a badge of honor. It's a rite of passage. It is important. But
men like that are fucking idiots. Can I just put that out there? I'm not painting this against all men. Not all men. Hashtag not all men. Seriously, though, guys who are like that and feel like, oh, we're men, so we gotta physically hurt each other to prove how manly they are. They're fucking idiots. They're the dumbest kind of person, and they scare the shit out of me.
the higher-ups don't get it. That's hazing. That's wrong. So they clamp down.
Yes, it is. Stop behaving like a bunch of Cro-Magnons. Legit, it feels like... I just gotta imagine for officers in the military sometimes it must feel like... How do I even explain this? You know, in 2001 A Space Odyssey, when the one, the first Homo sapien, I guess, the first one to stand up, well, probably Homo erectus or whatever came before. Whatever. The monkey thing that touched the monolith and then it stood up and figured out how to use a tool for the first time. I feel like it's got to be like that, where you're, like, somewhat competent and then you look out upon the people that are supposed to follow you and they're all a bunch of idiots smacking each other and shitting in the corner and throwing it at each other, and you're just like, how the fuck am I gonna organize this mess? Hydrate. Nick says, yes, injure your fellow soldiers. That'll make them ready for combat.
Down on it. Women didn't want to do it. Or even popping top.
Does 2001 A Space Odyssey actually take place in 2001? Yes. And then there's a sequel, 2010 or 2011, the year we made Contact, I think. Cool Cat says, hey, shitting in the corner is a good step.
Tops. If your superior is giving you a hard time, you say, hey, you want to pop tops? What that means is let's both take off our tops with our ranks on them so we're equal, and then we'll try to beat the hell out of each other. Oh, but
that's really, really stupid, John. That's really, really, really stupid. And if you're an adult who feels the need to do that, then you did not mature past the age of 5, and you have fucking issues. Strumbly for Wi-Fi says, just tried on my wife's... Oh my god. Alright, I'm gonna read this. Strumbly for Wi-Fi says, just tried on my wife's panties while she was away. Not gonna lie, it's pretty comfortable. I always go commando, but this is the tits. Am I trans now, Hannah? No, you're not. I guess I'm glad you find them comfortable. I don't know what to do with that information, man. What the fuck?
But they clamp down on things like that. It's hazing. Everything is much more stringent now.
That is, yeah. That's drag or cross-dressing, not trans. Unless you identify as a woman, then right on.
Now, and these are just further attempts to destroy that male sphere, that warrior culture. So I've been told that you can try to get out of it what you can, but rest assured that it is dying in terms of that experience and fraternity.
I hope it is. I don't want idiots like that in the military. Are you fucking kidding me? No wonder we kill so many civilians. The same kind of idiots who thinks it's funny to beat each other up for fun see a wedding and they're like, I'll just bomb the whole thing, whatever. Felix Night Owl says, as a veteran, I've had many, many classes and speeches about hazing and, quote, rites of passage. It's extremely punishable and frowned upon. Also, these things he talks about, men bonding with each other, isn't all fun and games. It's PTSD and other harsh life experiences that come with military life. It's a professional organization, not a fraternity. And Colston says, a military run by John Doyle would implode. Even George Washington wouldn't put up with that shit. No successful army throughout history did. Yeah. Mr. Sir Knight Kingyo said he should take a note from the Spartans and bond with their bros not through fighting, but by fucking each other raw. Mr. Sir Knight Kingyo says, fun fact, the army is made up of a high number of trans individuals. I would know I'm one of those people. John doesn't know that the people with the most interest in saving their country are usually those doing so for the GI Bill, which is a monetary incentive for free college.
And that, while it's hard to completely kill it forever, it's definitely dying. So here's basically the problem for me. If the fraternity is dying, you can get it elsewhere. The wars are pointless. Everybody knows they're gay. Everybody knows it's about bolstering these people's political careers. Quick conflict, showing off, taking them out, making them look good, then pulling out. Uh-oh, new group shows up. Let's go get them. Like, even we're leaving Afghanistan now, but then we've got the new OS on the Taliban. Let's go get them. Even though the people we were supporting in Afghanistan were morally reprehensible too. Like, the Taliban at least ended Shy Boys, which was sexual slavery and prostitution between older men and young boys. And every soldier over...
That shit is so fucked up. That's one thing John's actually right on. Tube-Man says, Hannah, you can't see that John just wants to tussle with the boy. He just wants to take off his shirt and feel his bro's chest against his. He just wants to bask in the glory of another man's physique.
There talks about seeing guys having sex with goats, raping boys, and they're supposed to be on our side. These are the guys who are going to respond well to liberal democracy because, my women weren't allowed to leave the house. It's literally impossible. And even the training you can get elsewhere. Like, I had a guy tell me that he could teach a militia everything he learned in the military in about 2 or 3 weeks, which sounds ambitious to me, but I wouldn't know, so I'm just going to take his word for it. But on the other hand, I'm very worried about a military that is fully staffed and politically on the side of our enemies. So then it's like, is that even possible? Because,
John, the military is not on the side of your enemies. Unless your enemies are democracy and general American stability, then sure. But they're not. They're not a bunch of lefties. They're not leftist. They're just the military. Bitter old ass broad says, I wonder if John's mom ever tell him to shut the fuck up. I doubt it. Sky Comet Fallen says, military officers be like, I'm surrounded by idiots. Honestly, I kind of wish John's mom had told him to shut the fuck up more as a kid. He might have a better personality.
Like we said, the infantry is almost totally comprised of right-wing patriots. So what if they just expand the Foreign Legion, right? What if they just open that up more and say, hey, enlist and we'll give you citizenship? That could be bad because people from other countries, particularly from the third world, aren't going to have nearly as hard a time turning against the enemies of the state as American citizens would. And even they probably wouldn't even have that hard of a time now, depending on who it is and how the culture continues to change, both in terms.
Hey, John, it's real easy to not be worried about the military murdering you. Don't be a terrorist. Don't be a fascist right-wing terrorist that wants to destroy American democracy in order to put forward your weird ethno-Christian nationalism thing you got going on. Just work with everyone else like a normal human being. You'll be fine.
Of the military and the country as a whole, because they're trying to actively discourage people like us from joining the military or staying in it. Like, they can't outright purge it. Just like,
yeah, you're a fascist. The military doesn't want fascists in it, at this point at least.
Like, they can't outright call for violence against us, but they can set things into motion that will achieve the same results. They're doing this with forced shots, forced mask man.
John is doing the stupid thing. For one thing, I'm guessing John's vaccinated. I don't believe for a second John hasn't been vaccinated. He's a grifter. He is an ideologue, but I don't think he's stupid, so I do think he's probably been vaccinated. John, even you must know that the military mandates all sorts of vaccines. People enlisted in the military get tons of fucking vaccines. They'll get a bunch in one day. Boop, 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 boop. Here's a dozen vaccines. This is just a new one. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with vaccines, John. Moppy Mutton says, yeah, like I say, fuck off, fasci.
Mandates, they're changing names at the bases, erasing Confederate general names, they're breaking.
Good. Confederate generals were fucking traitors to the United States. They can go fuck themselves.
That bond. First it's the statues and the bases. Jefferson's gone. Lewis and Clark gone. Renaming all the bases. They're having meetings 2 to 3 times a year going over what extremism is, how to find it in others, what
Good, because you don't want extremists in the military. Period. On either side. And I would honestly agree with that. I don't want, like, how would I put this? I also wouldn't want tankies in the military, for instance, because they're the military. They're supposed to be as non-partisan as possible. They're the military arm of the executive branch. They're not supposed to act unilaterally. I don't want a bunch of ideologues in the military choosing what they get to do without the decisions being made by political bodies. That's not what they're there for, John. And extremists, regardless of their inclination, whether it's right or left-leaning, is going to lead them to not want to listen to orders. And don't get me wrong, if your orders are like something awful, like a World War II, then yeah, I want them not to do that. But I don't want them to be like, oh, I disagree with this politically, therefore I'm not going to do it. That's fucked up. Rageology says, whenever I hear a fasci type bang on about their view of masculinity in militaries and effectiveness, I'm always reminded of their favorite historical fantasy, the Spartans. They were eventually defeated by a multi-state army coming together, one of the key groups being the Sacred Band that was made up exclusively of homosexual lovers who took an oath never to abandon their partners on the battlefield. This is different to the Spartans who practiced pederasty. Bardlock Moses says, while I was in the military, I got so many vaccines, including an anthrax vaccine. Von Tuck says, I have coworkers in the Army Reserve. Fortunately, military isn't like the cops. Not overwhelmingly chuds, he said in 2016 in basic training. The reaction to Trump winning the election was very, very mixed. Yeah.
Organizations they can't be a part of, what's indicative of an extremist. But what they consider to be an extremist are purely right-wing people, never leftists, only...
No, I'm pretty sure the military would be very against someone being a really, really open far-right leftists in military, you know? If they were espousing constant, like, really lefty, like, authoritarian lefty ideology. Because what we're talking about here when we're talking about keeping people out of the military at all, which isn't even really a thing, practically speaking, but he's talking about, like, far-right authoritarian extremists who want to overthrow Joe Biden in order to put Donald Trump in as president illegitimately are being dissuaded from entering or staying in the military by things like, and we're talking about things that aren't even the fucking proximate cause here, like anti-vax stuff. Like, I don't want to get a vaccine, so I'm leaving. Is there a correlation between people who are far-right extremists and anti-vaxxers? Oh yeah. That's basically a circle if it's a Venn diagram. But that doesn't mean the military is trying to purge those people. It means those people are idiots, and they're doing everyone a favor by getting the fuck out of the military, because those people shouldn't be allowed to hold a fucking gun, much less be in the military. Nick says, well, of course they'd be against open far-right leftists, or be against open far-right leftists. Far-right leftists, I assume you mean like a Nazbol type. They don't want reality to tear apart. Gotcha, I know.
Examples are young white dudes who are about this age. And at one point during one of the meetings I heard, there was this presentation, and there was a captain up there who asked for examples. Someone said,
I said far-right leftists. I meant authoritarian leftists. I apologize.
KKK. He said yes. Someone said Antifa, and he like cringed at it, despite the obvious fact that the KKK doesn't even exist, whereas Antifa has...
What? John, what? The KKK still exists, John. The KKK still fucking exists. What are you talking about? Felix Night Owl says, nothing, I mean nothing angers me more than pissants like John that purports to know anything about the military and make outlandish claims and criticisms about my fellow brothers and sisters without ever having made the sacrifices himself. It's okay to make broad political criticisms about decisions that generals make, but to pretend to know the individuals that make up the military and what's good or bad for them is sick.
Active cells in every major city in the country, and those god-awful...
Active cells. John, Antifa just stands for anti-fascist. There aren't fucking meetings.
Recruitment ads. When those recruitment ads came out, you'd go around to the different rooms and see different clusters of soldiers. Like, what the is this? Everyone in the company is like, are you kidding me? They
Wow, those people sound like pieces of shit.
were completely embarrassed to wear the uniform that day.
That's hilarious. The ads were a little cringe, just in the sense that it's hilarious to me that the American war machine that only exists to enrich, like, people who invest in Halliburton. Maybe that's an old reference. There are probably better military-industrial complex references you can make than Halliburton. But, you know, I was alive during Cheney's vice presidency, so that's the one that sticks out to me. Blackwater these days. There you go, Blackwater. So I do find it funny when they're like, come and fight wars for us. We're okay if you're gay. And it's like, okay, I still don't agree with basically anything you guys do, so no, but... Big Sweet Demon says, is he gonna pull a Donnie Trump Jr. and, quote, Russia good, actually? Probably.
was told. And it's a total psyop. They want people like us to be out of the military.
I hope you do. I don't think the actual military does, because they're constantly desperate for recruits. I think especially in this day and age, I don't know what the numbers are like, but it wouldn't surprise me if my generation, millennials, already jaded as fuck against the military as a whole. I can't even imagine what Gen Z thinks of the military. I'm not talking about necessarily individual people who join the military. I'm not talking about veterans. I'm talking about Gen Z's perception of the military as an institution and how it operates in the world. They must just think it's the weirdest fucking bullshit thing. Who knows, though? Simple Cat Girl says, Hannah, can you ever make an emote of that Elmo meme with the fire in the background? Because that's how I feel after the KKK comment. Someone probably has that. I'm also out of emote slots, so until we get more subs and get more sub points, I can't unlock more emotes. Tucker White says, wait, Antifa doesn't have cells? But Hannah, what about the secret Antifa meeting next Tuesday at the house of George Soros, blessed be his name? That got moved to Thursday, actually. He's going to be busy Tuesday hiring doctors to convince women to get abortions. Virtual Guy, thanks for subscribing with Prime. Getting us closer to the sub points for the next emote. But today is Thursday. Obviously, I meant next Thursday. There are Thursdays every week, Nick. God. Profane Priestess says, I'm Gen Z. I've never met anyone who thinks the military is anything but a horrific abomination. Good.
You don't belong here. That's the purpose of all of this. They want people like us to leave, to be demoralized. We own you.
I hope so. I'm not the military, though, John. But yeah, I hope you're demoralized. I hope you feel like shit every day for the rest of your life. Unless you change. That's fine. If we get a John Doyle redemption arc, cool. I still wouldn't trust the guy for obvious reasons, but, you know, I'd take a John Doyle redemption arc. Not gonna happen, but still. Over Beb says, Twitch has turned off chat in the military esports channel, so yeah, the Zoomers aren't having it. Good. Jacob Aces, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. We're on a hype train. It is September, so remember, any gifted subs you give are 20% off, and I still get the full amount. Thanks, Twitch. Mr. Sir Knight Kingyo says, John would not survive the military. He would cry about people who are different than him and fail every physical expectation of him. He's the perfect example of everything the army doesn't want in a soldier. He would have been thrown out in basic training. I unironically, even despite my... If I'm trying to be as objective as possible, and that's difficult, because of course, you guys know how much I despise John Doyle, but even stepping back and taking my emotion out of it, I genuinely think John Doyle, it would be hilarious to see him try and go through military training of any sort. I think it would go terribly for him. He's such a spoiled, like, self-interested fucking man-child. It would be hilarious seeing him knock down a peg. Like, I want to see basically a Full Metal Jacket, but starring John Doyle. I want to see him go through basic training and be yelled at until he cries. Moppy Mutton says, Choo choo, Hanamaniacs. Kingdom Reborn 487 gifts 20 tier 1 subs to the community. Absolutely killing it. Thank you. Happy September, everyone. Strumbly for Wi-Fi, thanks for gifting a sub. Big Sweet Demon with 100 bits says, Biddies for Hype. Bardlock Moses with 100 bits. And Moppy Mutton says, going off the rails. We're already at 215% of the level 5 hype train. So that's awesome. Thank you.
You're going to do our bidding. That's the point. You're going to get the shot. And even then, you're going to have to wear the cope shield. And if you don't, Article 15.
The cope shield, aka a mask, a piece of PPE that medical doctors have been wearing for 100 years. That, John? Genius.
Even though you said you wouldn't have to wear the cope shield if you got the shot. And if it's mandatory, they could potentially put you in military prison. Most realistic.
Yeah, you joined up for the military. They own you. Don't sign up for the military then. Bymancer, thanks for tier 3 for 16 months. Bittergrin, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Miss Case, thanks for 200 bits. Dude from Moria, thanks for 45, says... John Doyle exhales mama's boy energy. On a not related note, my mom made sweet potato cakes and they are amazing. Good.
Realistically, they'd kick you out, and other than honorable discharge, so no veterans benefits, you have to report on all employment that you have that, so it kind of screws you for the rest of your life. So ultimately with this whole thing, I think you really...
I guess you should get vaccinated then, like I'm sure John is. Notice how John... I haven't seen John once say he's not vaccinated. Because he is, I would assume. But he doesn't want to say that to his audience, because I'm sure there are a not insignificant amount of anti-vaxxers in his audience. Isaac Inanimate says, Gen Z, why did you join the army?
You're gonna go up to random people asking them why they joined the army. Why'd you join the army?
Camaros.
Why'd you join the army?
I hate myself.
Why'd you join the army?
I don't know.
For us. Why'd you join the army?
I hate my life.
Triple, why'd you join the army?
This gourmet food.
With me. Hold on. Why'd you join the army?
I thought I'd be allowed to eat in peace.
Princess Amelia, thanks for gifting a sub.
Flores, why'd you join the army? Hey, Holmes, why'd you join the army?
What?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know, bro.
Hey, why'd you join the army? Why'd you join the army? Hey, why'd you join the army?
I don't know, man. I thought that was a good idea at the time, bro.
Hey, Bullard, why'd you join the army?
Money.
Why'd you join the army?
I'm retarded.
Jesus Christ. Felix Night Owl says, I became a huge lefty while I was in the Marines for 8 years, so it's not as right-wing as it may seem. I think the corruption of bomb manufacturers lobbying politicians just to have endless wars is disgusting. I have to say, though, I'm glad of the skills, discipline, camaraderie, and other stuff that I gained from joining. It's not all an abomination, Hannah. Well, I'm glad. Zero M80 says, over the last 10 years, I tried to join the Navy. I was medically separated during basic training of a few weeks, but they made sure I was up to date on all my vaccines, even the ones, and just before the ones. And just before I left, they gave me a shot of penicillin in my ass. I didn't have a choice in any of these except which cheek I got the shot in. Big Sweet Demon, thanks for gifting 10 subs to the community. Sky Comet Fallen says, I love you, Gen Z. You're so superior to my generation, millennials. Tucker White says, I'm disappointed someone didn't say I joined because I own stock in Raytheon.
Really just have to evaluate it
581% of level 5. Awesome.
for yourself, because the bad parts of it are that it encourages an unhealthy lifestyle. You're supporting and defending a country that murders 1 million of its children every year, and you're existing as the militant arms of a globalist pedophile network who wishes to enslave our nation's people.
Oh, that's a little QAnon-y, even for John.
What is good about the military, its culture, that seems to be dying. So I don't know. The National Guard, I know they get a hard time, but it might not be a bad idea. Like right-wing states pulled theirs from Biden, and if they can establish a purely leftist national military, if we had right-wing militaries in state governments, that might help us, especially with like a national divorce, which is really the best option at this point. And
oh, good. John's pushing for civil war now. Lovely. Tube-Man says, my friend who was super depressed was close to joining the army because he wanted his schooling paid for. I was able to convince him not to join, and ways he go to without having to pay for it. That doesn't mean anything. Stone Corbell says, has John fallen into Q? He talked about how the government works for Satan earlier. Could just be a new avenue of grift he's exploring, of course. I think it's that. I don't think John is stupid enough. I don't think John is actually as religious as he lets on. I think he just recognized it as a powerful political tool. And he's not wrong. I'm just honest enough to not want to use it for such a purpose. But yeah, I think he uses religion as a tool. I don't think he's religious the way he says. I don't think he literally believes the Bible. Could be wrong. Rachology says, wait, is this whole video we can't let the women and the queers in because they are too weak and ideological to follow orders? By the way, it's wrong to ask the army to wear a mask to stop you getting a disease that often has long-lasting physical effects, and you should be able to refuse the order to take a vaccine. Yeah, he's fine with right-wing political stuff being in the military. He's just not okay with people who are gay or left-wing existing within the military.
And even though the National Guard doesn't get the training that the rest do, I'm pretty confident that right-wing patriots would be more lethal with that training than a bunch of leftists and third-world imports would be with better training. But I don't know. Don't take this as gospel. I'm
good luck.
Simply exploring ideas. I really think the bottom line, though, is that this all comes down to political representation. It's all downstream from that. Like the generals are selected by Congress. All the higher up leadership is politically selected. So you could have 90 right-wing colonels, but if the political leadership is leftist, they're going to pick the few that are leftist too, even though they're in this, extreme minority. That's why you have generals now talking about.
John, you're in the extreme minority. You're a far right-wing fascist. Do you think you're super popular? Like, Trump lost the popular vote both times. Pyro the cute one, thanks for following.
about how diversity is our greatest strength. So everything flows top down. We have to change our political representation first, and they would fix the military leadership. And that honestly would fix the military to where we wouldn't even have to worry about this anymore. Like if the top down guys in the military were our guys, the whole institution would change almost overnight, I've been told. So I guess those are my thoughts on it. They're
By who? Who told you this, John? Big brain take. People in charge change things. Yeah, no shit. Yo180 says, what are the odds he believes that the military should be forced to swear in on the Bible when they sign up or some crap? Probably thinks that. Slaughterama says, foreman of the factory is a former Green Beret. We talk politics all the time, and when I asked him if the military is right-wing, he scoffed and said, in his words, not mine, I didn't fight for rich shitheads to jack off with the flag. Felix Night Owl says, what are your true thoughts and feelings about the military? An abomination? Really? I very much think of the idea of war is antiquated in 2021, but I don't, the world has made it that, I assume, the world has made it that far yet. We should all be able to live together on this planet. Yeah, we don't though, but a lot of the time, actually every time, basically since World War II, you can point out exceptions here and there, where the United States is the one provoking things. And someone's going to be like, 9/11. Okay, yeah, well, 9/11 wasn't done by a specific country. It was done by a group of terrorists, and then we invaded multiple countries over it. So. And killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. Mr. Sir Knight Kingyo says, no, John, the National Guard is the U.S. militia. No, John, the National Guard is the U.S. militia. It's part of the Army. You have to be flexes, Army strong, to be in the militia, John. Same training as the Army. If everyone in the Army had the option to not wear a mask when they didn't want to, we'd all be dead from gas attacks. Moppy Mutton says, why do they think us lefties are soft and weak? Does he not know about Rage Against the Machine? We are not the Age of Aquarius hippies anymore. Yeah, I'm not sure either. Maybe because Laura Dern had purple hair in Star Wars, and that's their idea of a left-leaning person is like SJW stereotypes from 2012? I don't know. Lots of lefties own guns and stuff.
trying to destroy the culture. The White House and DOD say that you can't report someone of the same gender for sexual assault or harassment anymore because they said it would be used to bully gay people. They shut down open prayer. They call it proselytizing. They want your social media. They want your emails. They're citing the NDA in battalion meetings, claiming that you can arrest someone for speaking out against the federal government. All of this, in addition to what we've already...
You're not really supposed to speak out against the government as a military member while you're enlisted, especially not in uniform. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just saying that's non-partisan. For instance, the woman that you showed at the beginning got in trouble for just making that TikTok. That's not uncommon. You're really not supposed to be making political statements about current political things going on when you are enlisted in your official capacity. Profane Priestess says, 9/11 was also our fault in the roundabout way. We created Al-Qaeda and radicalized people with our endless proxy wars. Yes, and the big reason for 9/11 was because Osama bin Laden and other people of similar ideological bent are sick and tired of the U.S. propping up Israel with monetary support and all that stuff, so...
discussed. Then they're providing our supposed enemies with literal cash, equipment, etc., just to keep them in the fight. Here's a good example. When a Black Hawk goes down, there's a certain piece of equipment that you are instructed to take out before leaving it, so it can't be used by the enemy. Even if it means using your water, phosphorus grenade, whatever, you make sure it's done. We did not do that with any of the equipment that we left behind. This was...
That's literally untrue. I just saw an article literally yesterday where it was like Taliban mad that U.S. disabled equipment. I'm sure there are guns and stuff. We definitely saw the Taliban with guns, but there are way more guns than they are helicopters. They disabled helicopters and stuff. Land vehicles, I'm sure they had a lot of those that are pretty difficult to just do all in a row, but yeah, even if they got a hold of, let's say, an Apache fucking helicopter or something, they don't have the resources to maintain it. Unless, of course, the entire idea, because I think the military-industrial complex is fucking evil, that they're thinking, Here's a free sample, Taliban. If you'd like any more, here's our number. Give us a call and we'll sell you the stuff to maintain the equipment. Which I wouldn't put the United States military above doing. Slaughterama says, not to be this guy, but I'm a gay lefty millennial with bad knees, but I own guns and have taken judo and jujitsu since I was 14. Pretty sure I can take John any day of the week. Probably.
Was not a lack of planning. This was done completely intentionally. The lack of planning was the planning. Everyone I spoke with said that if they could go back, they would not join. They would find training elsewhere because the government you're contracting your body and life to hates you. They want you gone. And it recalls the old Solzhenitsyn quote. We know they're lying. They know they're lying. They know we know they're lying. We know they know we know they're lying, but they are still lying. So what happened?
That's interesting because I feel that way about John Doyle and his dog whistling. Like, you guys and me all know that John Doyle is, like, a fascist that hates gay people and would, like, kill minorities if he was in power. And he knows that, and he knows we know that, and we know he knows we know that, but he just doesn't, he isn't honest about it because he doesn't want to get booted off YouTube. Interesting.
Happens when the hostile and illegitimate state mobilizes its monopoly on violence. Every communist regime in history has purged the military of political opposition.
Ah, yes. The communist Joseph Biden regime. Oh, John.
Ours are no different. And as we said in the last video, everything that would need to be put into place for something really bad to happen is being put into place. But just know, you will be held accountable. There are at least 75 million people just like us. And we're not just going to, like, disappear.
Okay, and there are more people who aren't in agreement with your radical fucking far-right bullshit. We had a recent election about this, John. You had a whole meltdown about it.
Over, we have God on our side. We have goal line.
John, you can have God, and we will have the majority of the people in the country. Deal.
Defense up at the gates. You guys are going to be
Sky Comet Fallen says, does John actually believe the shit he says, or is he just a grifter? Grifter implies he's in it to make money. I don't think John is in this to make money, though I'm sure he enjoys the money. I think he's more into it because he sees himself as a political strategy genius, and he wants to further far-right fascist, ethno, and Christian nationalist ideology. So I think he lies in service of those goals, but he's not an outright grifter. He believes in the underlying ideology that he supports, that he espouses. It's just that he's dishonest about the degree and manner in which he is going about his goals and what his goals even are. So it's all couched in dog whistles and lies, but his motivations are pretty transparent.
Humbled at his feet, whether you currently acknowledge it or not. I've been reading my Bible a lot more recently. I hadn't been reading it very much for a while, and my cope was telling myself, hey, isn't the greatest faith just putting total trust in it without even knowing what it says? That was the cope, but we're reading it for the first time in a while, reading it through, 49 books in, still waiting for a miss, and I'm not going to find one. Everyone always asks for, like, a book
John read Lot getting raped by his daughters, and he's like, this is a fucking banger!
Recommendation list. I've got one on the website, but above all else, you really should just read the Bible. The entire truth of our existence is in that book. Like, what else could be?
I've read it. It's not great. Not if you're reading it the way John reads it. I find it an interesting piece of mythology. I find it interesting as a religious text, but it's just that. A religious text.
Of greater importance. And if you've never read it, by the way, you don't get to brush off what I'm saying. No, you are not entitled.
Cool, I've read it. It sucks.
To your eye roll yet. Read it, follow it, and you will notice your life gets better. It is literally the owner's manual to your soul, but you've got that cued for when you're done with how to argue against economic regulations for dummies. So there's good news and bad news. The bad news is that we're all going to suffer. It's going to get worse than you and I are even comfortable imagining, and it's okay. We deserve it. This country deserves it. But the good news is that we're ultimately going to win, and our enemy.
The weird thing is John and I are like both doomers, but we're doomers for completely separate reasons. John's a doomer because he thinks leftists and communists are going to take over the government, and I'm a doomer because I think fascists are going to take over the government. Isn't that interesting? Our pessimisms are each other's optimism.
Who literally work for Satan and for Moloch, who are
I don't mean that literally, by the way. I'm not a communist. I'm just like I don't even know what it is. People should have fucking health care, and I don't think people should have $1 billion, and I think you should get paid fairly for your work. And I like democracy. Whatever that is. Worker co-ops. Yeah.
literally possessed by demons are going to end up burning in hellfire for eternity. So that's kind of funny. I don't want to
That's a fun cope.
say I take pleasure in that. It's at least amusing. It sounds outlandish too, but that's the case, by the way. Like, if you're a Christian and you read your Bible, that is what it says very clearly is the case. So in summary, study your Bible, keep your rifle by your side, and as long
Alpaca sent. I wish. See, it's times like this that I wish heaven and like God were a real thing, because I'd love to see John go to like the pearly gates, as is the traditional setup for situations like this, and him to walk up to Saint Peter, and Peter look at him and go, and just press the button for the trapdoor to send him down to hell. You should have masturbated more, John. You're not getting any now. Alpaca Scent says, this argument is always funny because you, Hannah, probably know more about the Bible than most people like John who aren't, say, ministers or theologists, rather. Yeah, probably. The bar is low, though. The vast majority of people, not even especially, but the vast majority of people have never read the Bible ever. Even Christians have maybe selectively read. If I had to guess, your average Christian has maybe read, at best, one chapter of the Bible collectively in their entire life. They've maybe read through Genesis or something. They've read select verses that their pastor, if they have a pastor, if they're not like non-denominational and don't go to church or whatever. Most Christians have not read the Bible at length. Yo80 says, sounds like a commie to me. Princess Amelia says, St. Peter reading through John's life being like, oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
as long as you do that, you will be okay regardless of anything that happens in
You wish John Doyle could hear what he sounds like? If he took mushrooms, that might do it. If you take mushrooms, you get a very, I don't know if I'd say a clear view of yourself because you're very high, but like any ego protection you have that's keeping you from seeing yourself as you are, to an extent, gone.
in between. Like, in the end, you will be okay and we'll all make it. Hey guys, if you
Oh, good. We have just enough time to watch the cringy outro. Von Tuck says, imagine reading the Bible and not becoming an atheist. Yeah. I think by the time you get to God smiting everyone on Earth, you might go, I don't like this character very much. Bardlock Moses says, I know more about the Bible than most Christians, thanks to you and Jake. Big Sweet Demon says, Beelzebub carries him to the pits via those plastic reach tongs. And Colston says, in almost any religion, if you read a Wikipedia article, you know more about the religion than 95% of its adherents. I don't know if that's true for other religions, especially in areas that are more fundamentalist, let's say. And I'm not just talking about Christian fundamentalism or like Catholic fundamentalism, for whatever that would mean, you know. Like, I don't know what the religious culture is over in, let's say, India in regard to like Hinduism or other places in Asia with, like, their various religions. I have no idea. All I know is milquetoast American Christianity, air quotes. Mobby Mutton says they, quote, read the Bible but can't see Trump's antichrist tendencies like autobiography Bibles and speaking blasphemies and lies unchecked about porn star sex. The Antichrist isn't really a thing in the Bible, guys, by the way. Revelations talk about antichrists in the sense that there are people who are against Christ, but the idea of the rapture and the Antichrist as a singular figure come out of more recent... There's YouTube videos about this. It's a whole thing. Kind of started in the early 1900s, modern rapture theology, and has evolved in evangelical circles. Tube Man says, funny enough, I would read the entire Bible while surfing through my old pastor's insane sermons when I was a kid, which I don't believe in, which is why I don't believe in it now.
If you like this video, leave it a thumbs up, leave it a comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so that you are notified in the event that I post, which is happening more frequently, as many of us are saying. And then, of course, share the video with a friend. Is it wrong that I don't take pleasure in it? I just, like, it's not like a laughing thing. Like, I find it funny. I sympathize with these people, and I pray for them, and I feel badly. It's more of like a, you could have had eternal salvation through Christ, and you chose that? Like, what are you doing, dude? I don't know. It is a little fun. It's not funny. It's not funny. Hey, pray for your enemies. Even the communist furries who want to molest your children. Pray for them. Like, seriously, like, that's what demonic influence is.
Okay, is John officially getting into the QAnon stuff? Because it really, really sounds like it.
I'm not crazy. I'm not. I read my Bible. You should read your Bible. That's what it says.
I'm not crazy. I read my Bible. It's impossible to be crazy and read a Bible at the same time. Checkmate, libs.
And it's funny, too, because everybody always claims to read the Bible. Like, oh, I read the Bible. And it's like, you can tell. Because when you actually read it, you're like, they were right. Like, the people who sound like the crazy Christians are actually the ones who actually read it, and they're correct in what they're talking about. So, yeah, read your Bible.
Yes, literal evangelical interpretations of the Bible are the sanest ones.
Yeah, but we love the 2-minute outro. You want to see what's on this shelf? You can't really see it. I wasn't really sure what the angles of the cameras were.
How much do you think John spends his time reading the Gospels and actually, like, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, Take all you have and give it to the poor. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Hanging out with prostitutes and washing their feet. Like, do you think he reads those ones, or just the parts where God smites his enemies horrifically? I feel like he probably spends a lot of time in the Old Testament. Broadlock Moses says, when you say you're not crazy. Yeah. Dude from Moria says, kind of off topic, but is there some place to watch your D&D campaign from the beginning? All we have is on the Unpopular Culture channel. We didn't start at the beginning, so the first episode of that is the first time we recorded it. So. Warning, if you do watch that, which I recommend. I enjoy that campaign, and my character of the Professor, and all the other characters. Warning, though, I had a beard at the beginning of that, so, just don't be shocked.
We're going to be when I set the studio up, but there's some cool stuff on this shelf. This is a die-cast replica of the intro car. Oh, is the wheel messed up? What? The wheel's messed up? Someone tried to steal my wheel. On the old Woody, I think this car was called. The old Ford. John Doyle, and hang off, commie. And then we're back here. Hello, it never ends. It's a flat circle. The eternal heck off commie video. Okay, the 3-minute outro. Thank you so much for watching. May God bless America.
Jesus Christ, John. So, that's what John's up to. Being cringe.